Hi there, it's Paulie here. So, I've had a direct viewer request to talk about the Shadowrun SNES Super Nintendo game that I did long ago. I have told elements of this in other videos, but this is a direct viewer request, so I'm glad to. And like most of my tales of the computer games industry, it is a bit of a downer. Attend. So, let us say, for starters, Beam Software was a living hell on earth. It really was. The company politics, they despised the designers. They hated us. We were a necessary evil and seen as basically no talent hacks that were just doing the stuff that they would have, management would have done if their valuable time was worthwhile. So that's the environment we're looking at then and indeed today. I did a Beam Software game. It was a board game. Now, in this game, you have a little boat, which is made out of paper, and there are slots in the boat which have coloured counters in them. They're all the one colour. That's you. That's your idea. That is the concept of the game. Now, there was a board game that you've got to pilot this thing through. Time is ticking off. If you haven't piloted your way through to actually getting this game into production after going through the swamp of the actual development process, you lose. Contracts cancelled, you're out. But the thing is, all through it, you're given different choices and ways of getting ways through. But very often, they insist that you remove part of the core idea of the game and throw it away. Throw the you and throw the purity of the idea out in order that someone in management somewhere gets to put their idea in. And the idea is to somehow get this thing out with some iota of the original idea, something of the original game left, where everyone's tried to change it into something else, because that's what this company would do. Everything you did, it would try changing it into a platform game, or sodding management would see a new game and decide, we're going to change this game that you've got halfway through development. We want it to be completely a copy of this now. This was the actual fight. Now, there were stages in the game, that were based on actual company incidents. So, one of the spaces you pilot into, it says, one of the artists has been driven crazy through hunger, through the shitty wages that they are given. He now sinks his teeth into his own monitor and fries his tiny ape-like brain. It's like, you were delayed one position on the clock where you're trying to desperately find someone else who's stupid enough to work for these kind of wages. These are the kind of incidents that you had to pilot your way through. Now, this thing became like an underground hit. Over years after I left Beam, I would wander into computer game studios. I would wander into like Electronic Arts and Konami, and I'd wander into studios in Britain and France. This game of mine was up there on the wall. And they would proudly point out, yeah, you did this. Yeah, this remains our great guide. This is our great warning. Yeah, this was fabulous. In every single case, after I visited and said hi to management and yada yada squee, someone from amongst, the actual rifle wielding trench monkeys doing the work, the guy's actually there on the firing line. Yeah, they're going to grab me, take me out, and they're going to tell me about the raging hellhole they live in. In every case, this game had been brought as a warning and ended up almost used as a guide. Each of these places was running the same way. So, that is Beam. So, to know of Shadowrun, you have to know of Nightshade. So, we've been commissioned to do an adventure game, a sort of, these guys wanted a gumshoe 1930s film noir kind of thing. So I designed it, and I was put in head of the project as the producer. Now, this was another thing that this company had done. They'd given everyone important film names. These are the guys behind that. That's why you get that in games companies today. Once they got some successes, they decided, we're as important as film people. So part of that meant management gets, multi $100,000 or indeed $1 million paychecks. Everyone else is scum and gets nothing. Because what's important is the film execs, of course, because we all know films can't work without lighting and camera people and gaffers. And definitely screw the writers. But we did this game, and you know, it was good. It was good. It was a side view adventure because these guys were obsessed with that. But on the last day, I hooked up with a very talented programmer called Jeff Kamenek, who'd been involved with this. Jeff, if you are out there anywhere, love you, man. Get in touch. But we took a look at it and thought, yeah, you know, this is fine, but it lacks something. So we sat down together and said, why don't we do this as a comedy? Let's do an alternative version. So what I did was I rewrote all of the dialogue as comedy dialogue. I made comedy tags for everything that you could look at. You know, it was all funny. And Jeff went to work and we had this idea of doing these things where, in that film noir kind of way, if your character dies during play, they don't. They actually fall unconscious, they're seized by the baddie, and are then put in a certain death situation. You know, you're put in the place where they smash the heads off the serpent head sticking out of the bas relief, so water is pouring in, and you are tied to the chair. And now you shall surely die, because once the water rises to that level, the piranha in that tank over there will come out and they shall eat you. I know it's a certain death. Oh, hang on, I've got a phone call. Well, I'll just presume this is going to work and kill you. So, you know, the bad guy will walk off, and then you've got a little adventure thing to solve to get out of this. You know, you've got to get out of the chair, shut the water off, you find a way out, etc. So we had all these different certain death scenarios, and you know, so we made it fun. So and Jeff was sort of instrumental in the nuts and bolts mechanics of doing that. And then we put both versions in to the publisher the next week and said, hi, we have done the game that you wanted. However, we have done two versions. Here's a deathly serious gumshoe thing. This is the sort of Humphrey Bogart film noir version, and this is a comedic version because I thought the game would be best served if I gave you two different ways of approaching the game. You are the end publisher. It was Konami, I believe. You decide. And so they absolutely busted the gut laughing over the comedy version, said, we're running with this one. So that's what they took. Now, Beam Software Management were incandescent with fury that I had dared to do this. And of course I defended it because I am a fucking producer. My project, my design, my vision, and as a responsible creator, I've put the extra work in. I've designed two entire versions of this game to offer to the end publisher to say, I want you to be perfectly happy with what you're publishing, so here's two versions. You choose which one's serving what you want to publish. So, you know, I just entrenched and said, no, I did the right thing. And no, I don't have to double check the stuff on my game that I've been put in charge with as producer with the guys that run the front office. They're not involved in the process, and they have never, apart from signing the initial contract, never liaised with the end publisher. And so, you know, that's between me and the end publisher. We are the ones that have had the history of conversation. So they hated me because I was right. So they just wanted me gone. But you can't fire someone for doing what this publisher wants. Plus, the game got rave reviews. So they had the license to do Shadowrun. Now, as a role-playing game, of course, I knew all about Shadowrun, but the game itself had been designed by a guy called Greg Barnett, who was one of the old management-y sorts at Beam. He'd kind of put in a basic design, and then he just left the company. He'd just gone off. To find out how well that worked, go and look at my video on the Discworld game, because that's the guy I went over to England to work for. But anyway, so this was just left for 6 months. Now, it took about a year, under normal circumstances, for games to be made by that company. But for 6 months, they've left this thing dormant, but they paid Phaser for the license to do Shadowrun. My game's done and everything, so they came up with an idea. You know, we despise me. Let's throw Shadowrun at them. It's 6 months into the period where we promised to deliver. So we throw this game, and if the game can't be done in half the normal development time, which it cannot be, we just blame the producer, moi, and fire them. Good, this person's incompetent, they're gone. So fantastic. And it gives us a scapegoat to Phaser and everything. They can just say, oh, well, this just went to the hands of an incompetent producer. It's just we didn't know this person was incompetent. Error one, not even back then. Back then, I was always at the heart of role-playing games. Yeah, I knew the Phaser guys really well. So the first thing I did was phone Phaser and have a good yarn with them. Because, we've met at Gen Con. We've hoisted beers together, mate. But whatever. So the reason it took so long to do games at Beam Software was they had a very time-wasteful way of doing things. And pretty much all companies still do this now. At the start of the week, all the people who are supposed to be designing games and in charge of projects and producers get together and spend a whole morning talking about how the projects are done and what we feel the choke points are and dee blah blah blah. That's half a day gone because the team are also off in their own kind of meeting about how they feel I should approach the thing. But then the rest of the day's lost because now you have a team meeting about what the work is we're going to do over the week and how we're going to approach it. And then at the end of the week, there's another bloody meeting for all the management-y sorts and the people working on them about how we felt we went and what's going to be needed and So you've lost 2 days out of a 5-day work week just discussing what you want to do, how you're going to do it and where you're going. But you can just do that together as a team. You're a team. So all I did was, instead of having everyone scattered up and down the building in different departments, we just had a room. That was the Shadowrun room. Hi, everyone on the project is just in the room. The programmers, the artists that are doing stuff, you got a workstation there and everything. And so there was no reason to discuss, we sat down, we planned the whole project together because we're intelligent human beings and absolute experts in our sodding field. We figured out what everyone needed from everybody else, and then we just worked together in a room. We don't need a meeting. The meeting is you're in the room. Hey, what do you reckon? We'll do this next section next week? Yeah, we'll do this next section next week. Okay, so that means art guy, we need you to start working on the artwork for that particular section. Cool. Give me a list of what you need and I'll start doing it. Good, and we're going to need these extra characters animated, so second artist, you do that. There's some programming considerations for this one, which programmer A, you kind of need to work on, and if you guys there can assemble this and everything, and I'll get to work on any specific dialogue that you need for characters that you guys come up with. Yeah, hey, can we have an extra character here? I think this would work better if we had some more guys here. What if we shift this around? So, an interactive synthesis of everyone's skills and ideas. And that's why this came out to be a good game. So, the story of the game, unfortunately, I couldn't affect because Greg Barnett had written this and sent it in for approval. So this was approved. I couldn't change the story. And that annoyed me because the story was actually ripped off. It was actually ripped off from a novel. So I asked if I could change it and they said, no, this is the one we've agreed on. So, okay, I will do it, but I'm going to work the boundaries of that so I'm not plagiarizing someone else's work. I can keep it in those guidelines and stretch it out. So we made some interesting decisions. As I said, this company was obsessed with side view adventures because this is the early 90s and this is what people did. So first off, we came up with this idea of let's make a synthesis. You've got top down, which allows you a lot of map wandering, and the terrain becomes very interactive. But let's blend that with more of a side view where you can actually see the artwork. Top down, you're just seeing the top of people's heads. It's kind of a bit weird. Let's do an isometric view, which is a 3/4 view looking down. So it's kind of like a top view, but we get to see sort of slightly foreshortened characters and the architecture and terrain around them. We get to see way more of it. It's more interactive. We can hide things behind. These maps can scroll and move as you get to boundary zones, but we can mask people behind things. So it was actually, kind of it was an innovative idea. Isometric viewpoint, 3/4 down. You'll see a lot of Japanese games then went and did it. We just sat there and made this happen. The game does a lot of interesting things. So there's a kitsune, a Japanese fox spirit character in there. So I am listed as the person that did the first Japanese fox spirit to come into modern media. It was something that just really hadn't been heard of. That's it. This is the first published kitsune. Why? because I was a furry fan at the time, as you can see. And there was a little core group of us who were role-playing gamers, so we all knew Shadowrun through and through. So we had the guys, we made the thing work. Long story short, we got this thing done, you know, in 6 months. When you're not wasting 50% of your working week having formal meetings about the work you're going to do, and when everyone's actually interested and inspired, we just did it. And this thing came out. It was a good adventure. You worked your way through. There was a mystery. You had to find different clues, and there were multiple ways of ending it. But it would lead up to these big kind of fights against, you know, this big dragon in one of the buildings, and so it was fights. It was investigative. You know, a nice game. It's still popular today. And when they did new games of Shadowrun on computer, I really wish they'd come to me, because they were trying, yeah, we're going to do a continuation of this. Good. Hey, the designer's still out here, but oh well. I'll just stay here living in poverty, shall I? But when this game came out, now my good old friend Jeff Kamenek, of course, was on the team. Love you, Jeff, but he definitely had he was definitely on the spectrum. So it comes out, much to the annoyance of management, absolute fury, because it was supposed to fail. But I've sent it off to the publisher, and they are overjoyed. And Phaser has gone through this, and they are overjoyed. So a meeting of the entire company is called, and Fred, the guy that ran the company, is standing. Well, this game was released before the agreed due date, but I'm pretty certain the results will show that the actual formal procedures that this company has adopted have been completely and flagrantly ignored throughout the entire production process. And I think the results will show what a disaster this is for the end product that has been created. And at this exact moment, I'm not kidding, Jeff Kamenek burst through the doors from outside, because he's come into work late, because he's known that the game was like instantly released. We sent it over, said, fine, good, it's out there, and it had gone out. Review copies have gone out to everyone. And at that stage, early 90s, it's the games magazines that get you sales and everything. These guys have all had their review copies, they've reviewed it, and hot off the press that Monday morning, here's all of the games. He's come in with an armload of these things. He's gotten every single one, and there were like half a dozen magazines that, you know, everyone read. And he just burst through the door and said, hey, says, the mags are out, and we got 10 out of 10 in every single games publication. It says 10 out of 10, the only 10 out of 10s this company's ever got, and we got them in every magazine. Woo! And of course, everyone just erupts into applause, and people like slapping me on the back, like, well done, and just, you know. And that was when their dedication to firing me went into overdrive. I was fired like a week later. They didn't bother doing anything anymore. There's, oh, clearly you're not a fit for the company, so, you know, go, well, fit for the company, I've been there almost from the beginning. By that stage, I've been there for like 7 years, from a company that's run for about 8 years, so it's like, nah. I was just from the old hippie guard, and they wanted people who dressed in suits and said, yes, sir. So, a game design triumph, a team leadership triumph. We pioneered a lot of cool systems, so technological pioneering triumph. We also had to reverse engineer the SNES, because Nintendo kept all of its tech secrets to itself. So we actually had to crack open the SNES when we first got it, and had to actually reverse engineer. Same with the original Nintendo. There were no developer kits then. They just said, oh, if you can make a game for it, then do it, but we're not going to tell you how it's done. So we just cracked into it and found how to write in their machine code. So triumphs on all of these levels. And I'm fired for it because I didn't follow the rules. The rules that demonstrably are keeping people's talents and inspiration from contributing to the games and making them better. So that is why I despise the computer games industry. I have no evidence that it got better. In fact, I deeply believe it's gotten worse, because I get a lot of young designers coming up to me and talking to me. So again, a direct viewer question, so I have answered. This again is a downer of a damn video, but that's computer games. This is why I love the tabletop role-playing game community. we self-publish, you know, we get stuff out. There are good games. There are some bad actors within the community, but we all know it and point them out. It is a better place, and there's no strictures of technology limiting what we can do and the adventures that we can share and the stories we can make together. So that is Shadowrun. It's still a loved game. There are shrine sites to it. You can find it. You can just find it preserved online. People play it. People love it. The theme music and everything done by Marshall. He that's played. I find people like using it and everything. Little side thing on Marshall, by the way, who did the music. He was hilarious. Fred, the guy that ran that company, he decided he was going to make a personal promotional video. So he brings in a whole film crew. And this is a video just to promote what a great guy he was. And so we can see this film crew in there. And this is a computer games company full of people that hate that guy because of the way he treated us. So they're gone, and eventually a courier turns up with copies of this film. And Fred loved it so much, he went out on the town with his friends for a big old business lunch. So someone just hacks into the network, downloads this thing, and we just watch this personal promotional video. Now, this is a guy that doesn't program, doesn't game design, doesn't do anything, but the camera comes in through the door and finds him smoking a pipe, which he did not smoke, and he looks up as if he's been caught midway through programming, and he says, "Well, hello there. Well, you know me, and you know my reputation for quality software." And Marshall just streaks in and just grabs a copy of this thing and just goes into the sound booth like, what the hell was that? An hour later, Marshall just comes and grabs everyone and says, "Quick, into the sound booth, everyone come in here." And he's got these screen sapper and he says, "I now present to you the Fred rap." And he's cut this film to make a whole rap song. And so it'll be, "Well, hi there. You know me," and then it'll cut to like a Nazi march. "You know me, Mussolini talking on the, I says, and you know my reputation." Hindenburg going down France. "You know my reputation." Titanic sinking. "You know my reputation." 1920s experimental ornithopter leaping up and down with his wings falling off. "You know my reputation for quality software." A bit from old Flash Gordon with guys with light up bulbs on their hats as like smoke's coming out of a cardboard computer behind them. We just about wet ourselves with laughter. It was so funny. And he said, "Oh, do you like it?" "Yeah, good." It's now the startup message on Fred's computer when he every time he starts it up. Like, okay, with your resignation attached at the end of it. So, yes. Oh. Well done, mate. Well done. It's like, I've had enough. Leaving that company was quite funny because, okay, I'm a role-playing gamer, and I've also, let's face it, been a cavalry scout in the army dealing with explosives. But yeah, never turn to someone like that who's got all the security keys to your office and say, "In 1 week, you're fired." Yeah. I'm going to strip mine the place before I go. But anyway, we're Australian. It's in our genes. That's a Shadowrun tale. I went on from there. I didn't care, I have to say, because what had happened was I had suddenly gotten publishers thundering into my life saying, "We are going to make you a best-selling author." And of course, that turned out to be all lies, but at the time I was pretty happy. It looked like there was a bright future in doing novels. Tales for another time. Maybe just tales to tell in private. But yeah, I did go on after that over to the UK, did the first two Discworld games. I've done other computer games since then. I've been brought in on things like Heroes of Europe and so on. I've just been asked to come in on something now to do narratives and so on. I'm very happy to do narratives, and because I'm an author, I write dialogue, and I'm a script writer for film and TV and so on. So I write dialogue swiftly and naturally. But if you watch my video on Discworld, you'll understand that any business dealings I go into now, they're literally done with a loaded revolver in hand. It's like I do nothing until there's money in the bank and there are airtight contracts and there's money in escrow. We're done. I've done my work for exposure, and I've been victimized by people across, multiple continents and several different Alternative realities. Shadowrun stays unique, I think, in the annals of computer game design for the game that was so successful. It got basically me and the entire design crew fired. Once I left, they got rid of the Marshall, he left. Jeff Kamenek, he got thrown out. And most of the other design staff just decided that's it, we're gone. Because they fired the core people, and it's no fun. There's no point being there anymore. And you could be literally paid twice as much by going to work for just programming for a bank or going to the public service. So they eviscerated their core design teams, and the company went down in flames. It lagged on for a couple of years. The beast that would not die, you just keep on pounding shots into it, and this thing's just crawling along. But it's done. So anyway, come try. You asked for it, Shadowrun. Bye.